kind of telling you how do you access these services. Actually, not how do you access these services, how do your patients access these services. You need to empower them with the tools they need to get in touch with the services. And then it really is helpful when you get information back. A lot of times I try to ask my patients, oh, I noticed I sent you to, I told you to call in Powerline. Did you guys have any success with getting hooked up with that day program or with that meal delivery service? How's it going? All right, I'm going to hand it off because you guys need the actual bones information about how to do this. Oh, no, I'm not. I have one more slide. Just kidding. Really quickly, I want to clarify a couple things, and I think most of you know these things, but it is important to help your patients understand the difference between assisted living, skilled nursing, and memory care. And I think that's important because every time we talk about, hey, maybe a facility could be a good fit for your loved one, what do most people picture? Nursing home. I promised Mom I'd never put her in a nursing home. Nobody's ever heard that, right? And man, promises to Mom are tough to deal with. So there's a lot of guilt there. I think it's important to help families understand you can have dementia and live in an assisted living facility. You can have dementia at late stage, and you may need skilled nursing. And then memory care often is attached to either continuing care retirement communities where there's independent and assisted and memory care, or to assisted livings. And so it gives patients and families a little more of a chance to kind of say, oh, there are options that aren't just that dreaded, what they picture as a nursing home. And again, also, there's some pretty excellent nursing homes out there. And so normalizing that for folks who really need it. The other thing I tell patients on this, or families on this topic, is if you are daily saying, I don't think I can do this anymore, you need to, number one, check your own health, but also start thinking about what extra support you might need. Because a lot of those folks feel like it's unkind to consider placement, or they feel guilty over it, but it often frees them up to realize you might be giving your loved one a gift by having them live somewhere so that you can be more of a spouse and less of that daily worn-out caregiver. And so just giving them some permission to think outside of whatever box they built for what the care needed to look like can be helpful as well. Home care versus home health. Home health is a Medicare-provided service for a need, and usually that comes when patients are coming out of the hospital with a skilled nursing need or PT or OT, or if you're ordering PT because you've identified a fall risk, or you're ordering OT for the same reason for a home safety evaluation. Those are covered by Medicare. Home care is a private pay caregiver companion type service that people have to go through either agencies or through just connections and paying someone out of pocket. And then elder law attorneys are really important. You cannot be their financial counselor. And so matching them to someone that can help them with long-term care planning for aging versus estate law planning, which is what do I want to happen to my estate and my goods once I'm gone, is an important discrimination as well. Now, it's your turn. There we go. Good luck with that clicker.
So as Stephanie just explained, some of the differences in services that are out there and available, and the cool thing is that we have a helpline at the Alzheimer's Association that you guys can refer to, that we can help them navigate all of those types of resources. Out on the table over near breakfast, so you guys might not have seen the brochures because everyone was going for the coffee, but there are a bunch of brochures out there. One of them is our 24/7 helpline magnet card, and then there's a longer one that explains the helpline. That is a resource that if you walk away with one thing today, I would say make it be that phone number. And that is a resource that you can give to families where they can access care 24/7. They get a live counselor on the phone. And if the helpline's not able to get them what they need, then we get a referral to make a local follow-up here. So it's not just going to the helpline. It is that they can then access us here too if they need some local support and follow-up. I'm not going to sit here and read to you our mission statement, but we do a lot behind the scenes with research. Advocacy is one of our huge pillars that we operate on a national level and at a local level. advocating for change within states and policies. We also do a lot with care and support and making sure that everybody has access to care and support, whatever that looks like in each unique community. And then also diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big one right now for us too, making sure that every community has access to services and that they're getting involved in research and things like that so that down the road everybody has that equal access to these things. I mentioned our helpline. Another point I want to make about the helpline is it's not just English. So if English is not somebody's native language, there's over 200 languages that can be connected through a language line at the helpline as well. This is 24/7. So again, that's why I say this is like a lot of times we hear from caregivers, this is their lifeline, that if something happens in the middle of the night and they need to get somebody on the phone, they're able to access somebody right away. So again, even if we can get you more of those helpline cards to have in your office, I'm happy to send you guys those because we have some cool little rack cards that you can send them out. But that is a way that you can get them access to care and support too. Also within each community, we have support groups available. This is a way that families and caregivers can connect to other people that are on a journey similar to theirs. This is something that we can get them more information through our website and or through the helpline as well. So one cool thing that we got from COVID that not much great came from, but we did start to do these virtually. Most of them were only happening in person in communities, but now we have a lot of them that are being hybrid done. So they started virtually during COVID, and now they've decided, hey, we're reaching more people that are not just in our communities. So we don't want to stop doing this virtual group. So they're doing them hybrid, virtually and in person. Some are simply virtual. And that's another way that we are able to link caregivers up with support within their community too, is through support groups and support programs. Some communities, based on the need, actually have early stage groups too. And those are groups that are meeting kind of like a dyad. So it's the care partner and the person living with the disease come together. The group meets together, then they separate out. So the person living with the disease is in a group with other people on that journey, and then the caregivers meet together. Those also usually have a social component. So they do like a once a month dinner, or they do outings together. But again, those are only in some communities right now. We are hoping to expand on those programs because that need has only started growing as well. Community education is another thing that we're big on, is educating caregivers in the community about Alzheimer's disease, about the warning signs, about healthy aging, healthy lifestyle changes that we can make, hopefully, to age more healthily. But then we also do very disease-specific education and training too. That may look like understanding behaviors, that may be effective communication, and we just launched a brand new caregiver education series that is called the Empowered Caregiver, which is simply to educate caregivers that are on this journey about, you know, ways to take care of their loved one and giving them more tools for their tool belt to actually provide that care. The final thing I'm going to talk about is our community resource finder, and this is accessible through the website. So this is how you can get access to some of those services that Stephanie discussed. If a family's looking for an elder law attorney, they're looking for in-home care, they can go to the website, type in their zip code, and it will pull up a whole list of all of these types of services within their community. It is also accessed through the helpline. So if somebody doesn't have access to a computer, they can call the helpline. They can get those lists sent to them that way too. But the Community Resource Finder is a great tool, and it has lots and lots of information on different providers and services that somebody may need within their community as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to...
All right. I am Laurie Beth Bryant. I am one of the Associate Program Directors for the Georgia Memory Net, and I am going to talk to you all a little bit about the ADRC, which stands for the Aging and Disability Resource Connection. I know that Liz had mentioned to you all about the state having 12 area agencies on aging across the state, and within each of those is an ADRC. So I know that may be confusing, but I like to think of it as a call center at each of the sites. So what is it? The ADRC serves as a no wrong door entry point to supports and services, and it's a coordinated system to streamline access to long-term care and support. The community thinks that the ADRC is a call center where they can call and ask any question in the world. So they don't only answer questions about, long-term support, but how can I get my power bill paid? Or I've got this random dog in my backyard, what should I do? So they are answering a lot of questions. They may not know the answer, but they do try to help all callers figure out how to solve their issue. So what does the ADRC offer? These are some of the core programs that are available. They are usually subcontracted out, so the ADRC will do all the assessments and then get them connected and entered into these programs. But personal care assistance, transportation services, assistive technology, home-delivered meals, congregate meals, that's where they would come to a senior center and eat together, chronic disease self-management, that's a really good program for example, if you have a patient that has diabetes and they are not taking care of themselves, they can take this program and learn how to better manage that diagnosis. Respite care, and then the elderly legal assistance program. So we'll talk a little bit in more detail about those. Another option is the home and community-based services, also known as HCBS. These are non-Medicaid services that are funded through the Older Americans Act dollars. So there are some specific requirements that one has to meet in order to be in these, or to get these services. So you have to be 60 years old and or have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or related disorder. And so some of the in-home services offered through HCBS would be the home-delivered meals, homemaker, where somebody would come in and help clean up, personal care, respite care, case management, senior recreation, congregate meals, transportation, home modification and repair, and adult day programs. So a lot of available resources through HCBS. And then there's the Elderly and Disabled Waiver Program. The name of that was changed several years ago, but you may all remember it as being CCSP or SOURCE. It's the same thing, just a different name. So that is a community-based care as an alternative to nursing home placement. If we can keep people in the community, that's what we want to do, and hopefully they can be eligible for this program. So this helps older adults and or functionally impaired to continue living in their homes and communities, but again, there is some eligibility requirements. Functional impairment caused by physical limitations, several unmet needs. They must meet the level of care for nursing home placement, must be Medicaid eligible or potentially eligible for it, must be deemed disabled by SSI or in the process of, and they must have limited income and resources. And Stephanie mentioned earlier about the importance of getting connected with elder attorneys and estate attorneys. There are several ways around these requirements specifically. So if you plan ahead, you might be able to have access to these services. But if you don't plan ahead, then, it's not as easy. There's a lot of workaround. But for example, one could put their assets in a trust, and they'll be eligible. So various things like that, but we encourage you, the patients and care partners, to discuss that with an attorney. So what are some programs or services that are under the Elderly and Disabled Waiver Program? Adult day help, alternative living, they could live in a personal care home, emergency response services, the necklace with the button. If they fall, they can press that and get immediate help. Respite, structured family caregiving, which I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. Home delivered meals, skilled nursing, physical, speech, and occupational therapy, home health aid assistance. Basically, once you're enrolled into the program, you are given a case manager who will coordinate all of these services for you. So the structured family caregiving program is relatively new. The whole time I worked in the ADRC, we had care partners calling, wanting to get paid for taking care of their loved one. And that just was not an option, but now it is. However, the patient does have, or the care receiver does have to be in one of the Medicaid waiver programs. So, but at least we're moving in the right direction. So the caregiver must be related to the care receiver by blood or marriage, live in the same household, be willing to work with the agency's health coach, and be willing to submit notes every day electronically. Excuse me. The caregiver may not have any other form of employment and may not be the legal guardian, conservator, or spouse or parent of the care receiver. And the care receiver must require 5 hours of direct care daily in order to qualify. So it's a good program if eligible. Assistive technology, I think many of our patients can benefit from, and most of our AAAs do have this as a program. Whether they're able to pay for or provide, walkers, bath benches, grab bars, things like that, they're at least able to educate the families on what could be needed and show them where they can get these devices. Again, eligibility requirement would be that they're 60 and older and have a disability. Another thing I would like to talk about is our Savvy Caregiver program. This is a evidence-based skill building program for care partners with individuals with dementia. It's 6 weeks, and we offer this virtually, and it's totally free. So any caregiver that is living in Georgia that is interested in taking this program, GMN offers it. And on the community service table, there's a flyer out there with a QR code where they can get signed up. So they would fill out the interest form. We'll give them a call just to make sure that they're interested in the program. Not necessarily that they meet the requirements, but that they're willing to attend all 6 sessions and that they have access to internet and things like that. So it's a really great program, and we would appreciate if you would share that information with your care partners. Just a couple of other resources. These are more on a national level, but the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, the Neighborhood Navigator, that is pretty similar to EmpowerLine, but again, it's more national based. And then, of course, the Domestic Violence Hotline. Any questions?
Beth, I wanted to say one more thing. When your patient, first of all, out of the primary care providers here, who knows how to make a referral to Georgia MemoryNet? Okay, so some of us don't, right? Some of us do and some of us don't. So we need to make sure you know how to do that. And there's a ton of information out front, I think on the tables or in your bags on how to do that. But once a referral is made, the patients not only get an evaluation with neuropsych testing and with a skilled clinician who will assess them and help them arrive at a diagnosis, they also meet with a community services educator. And that community services educator will build a care plan, make referrals to these AAAs and to the Alzheimer's Association. So just an important piece to know that that's coming your way in a care plan form from Georgia MemoryNet when you make those referrals. It's not just the medical diagnosis. I just want to point that out. Questions?
So also at every area agency on aging, they have a a resource specialist. And that person is in the community getting resources and entering them into what's called Empower Line. So every county across the state has specific resources that are in this database. And so you can go in there yourself to look up resources available in your community, or again, you can call the ADRC, and they also use that same database to pull resources from. But I believe it's empowerline.org.
Yes.
It can. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, some of the HCBS services can be offered while you're waiting on that, the eligibility process. So that process is much easier. So, and then sometimes they will go ahead and start, if you've started the application process, they will go ahead and do like the emergency response button. They will get started on certain things. But I would recommend just getting them started on some of the other HCBS services. Yes. Nope. The ADRC, which is at each of the AAAs, they cover every county in the state. So on the community resource table in the back, I've got the list of which AAA covers the county, and also their contact information. So send them straight to the ADRC within their county, and they will start everything. They're able to screen them for all of the services, and then if they are for some reason not eligible, then they'll, point them into the right direction. Maybe you need to talk to an elder care attorney, or, private pay services might be a better option for you. So they should get all their information that they need right there. Are you talking about the case management through HCBS, or case management when they get approved for CCSP? Okay. So if you do have a patient that has a lot of unmet needs, maybe housing is an issue, they don't have an ID, they don't have any money, they don't know where to go or what to do, the AAAs do have case management. So a case manager would be assigned to that patient, for as long as they need, 30, 90 days, to help them get to where they need to go. Now, if you get accepted into CCSP or SOURCE, you're also assigned a case manager or care coordinator. So that person would coordinate all of the services that are needed for that patient. So they don't really have to do anything on their end. Is that what you meant? Okay, great. Any other questions? Yes. Be clear. Sorry, I need to refresh my memory. Cannot. Mm-hmm. Any others? Great, thanks.